All right, thank you all for joining NOFA New Jersey for this presentation of MarketLink. Here we have Whitney Butler, the regional representative. She's going to walk us through their programs, offerings, and how they can help us all increase our community food security. Community food security has been a really hot topic right now throughout the NOFAs in general, throughout the world, as we saw so many disruptions with supply chains and folks who had lost their jobs during the pandemic and for various other reasons. If we can't feed New Jersey, then what are we really doing as a farming community and as a food system? So right now, food security is first and foremost in our priorities. Thankfully, the NOFAs together were awarded a grant program through the USDA FMPP, the Farmers Market. I'm drawing a blank. Anyway, it's called Farm Share, and it's going to be a program that subsidizes CSA subscriptions where the farmer doesn't lose any income, and we're able to reach a bigger demographic. We fundraise with the farmer, and I'm hoping that we can tailor this program to working with MarketLink services so that those farmers can accept SNAP benefits as well, and then we can just reach an even wider audience of folks. So I wanted to plug Farm Share just to keep you all in the loop. If you know of anyone or any communities or any community food organizations that might be good for us to partner with, please send them to me. There are a lot of programs in New Jersey right now, like City Green, Rolling Harvest. They really strive to fight hunger and help increase community food security. So I'm going to drop a link in the chat, and then I'm going to hand it off to Whitney. She will likely introduce herself and then give us a rock star presentation. So floor is yours, Whitney. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, well, thank you for having me, Devin, and thank you for such a nice introduction. So let me get my presentation up. All right, are we seeing MarketLink PowerPoint? Okay, awesome. So as Devin said, my name is Whitney, and I'm a regional representative for the MarketLink grant program. Prior to this work, my background is in greenhouse vegetable production. So it's really exciting to be on this side of the world and helping my fellow farmers in whatever way I can. So let's get moving here. So the first question is, what is MarketLink? MarketLink is a program that was created by the national nonprofit, the NAFMNP, National Association of Farmers Market Nutrition Programs. And MarketLink was first developed in 2013 in response to a USDA grant opportunity. So this grant program provides wireless SNAP point of sale equipment to direct marketing farmers and farmers markets. And this is a national program, so it's available to farmers and farmers markets across the country. Okay, so MarketLink is the result of a few key partnerships. As I mentioned, the program was created by the NAFMNP, and I'll tell you more about who they are in a moment. And we have a cooperative agreement with the USDA, or more specifically, the Food and Nutrition Services Agency, which is who is responsible for administering the SNAP program. So FNS provides the grant funding for our program and allows us to submit the SNAP retailer applications on behalf of folks that we work with. And finally, Novadia Group is who provides the SNAP point of sale equipment, which is an app called Total Pay Go, and I'll get into the details of the equipment here in a little bit. Okay, so quick note on who created this grant program, the NAFMNP. This is a nonprofit that was formed in 1992 alongside the creation of the Farmers Market Nutrition Programs, also known as WIC, Women, Infants, and Children, and the Seniors Program. So there are 86 of those farmers market nutrition programs in 45 US states, territories, and Indian tribal organizations that are providing benefits to over 2 million participants. There's almost 40,000 farmers, farmers markets, roadside stands, and CSA programs that accept those farmers market nutrition program benefits. And so the NAFMNP was created with the mission to help those farmers market nutrition programs succeed on the ground. Okay, so there have been multiple iterations of this USDA SNAP equipment grant since it was first introduced in 2013. And MarketLink has won the grant multiple times. So some of you might be familiar with previous versions of MarketLink, but each time the USDA has awarded this grant, they put out new requirements. So MarketLink has evolved over time to meet the new requirements. What's new for the current grant? To be eligible for the grant-funded SNAP card reader equipment, you must be either a farmer's market or direct marketing farmer. And also, you cannot have already received equipment from the current grant, which began in October 2019. So you can only use this grant funding once. Also important, our equipment providers, NOVA Group, are now a SNAP third-party processor, and I'll explain why that's important in a moment. And as a result of that change, for those that were familiar with the previous iteration of MarketLink, our old app was called Mobile Market Plus, and that's being phased out for the new app, Total Pay Go. And we are also now partnered with Square as an option to add credit and debit processing. And finally, there's a printer waiver, and let's dive in a little deeper on that one. So it's federally mandated that a printed receipt must be provided for SNAP transactions. However, the USDA is providing what they call a printed receipt waiver for those that receive equipment through the MarketLink grant program. So if you get equipment through us, instead of a printed receipt, customers are given the option of an email or text receipt. Now, many SNAP recipients depend on those receipts to track the balance of their SNAP card. So it's important to note that you can still check a customer's SNAP balance on the app without processing a sale, and they can get that balance emailed or text to them. So currently, this waiver only lasts until the end of this grant cycle, which is October 2023. The USDA is considering just extending the waiver perpetually for farmers and farmers markets, but we're waiting to hear back from them on this. And if for whatever reason you need or want a printer, those are available for purchase from NOVA Group. Okay, get a little into the technological lingo here. Another important point is that our equipment providers, NOVA Group, is now a SNAP third-party processor. And what that means in a nutshell is a SNAP third-party processor is a company that has been authorized by the USDA to provide SNAP point-of-sale equipment and process SNAP transactions. So if you're familiar with our former app, Mobile Market Plus, we had to partner with WorldPay to be our third-party processor. And now that NOVA Group has gone through that process to become a third-party processor, it's much more efficient and they can pass on some flexibility to customers. So this includes having a month-to-month or yearly subscription. There's no long-term contracts, no early termination fees, no per transaction fees for SNAP sales, and no setup or banking fees. And finally, I'd just like to note here that a lot of folks ask us if they can use Square to accept SNAP. But Square has not gone through the process to become a SNAP third-party processor. So that's just not an option at this time. Okay, now before we get into the steps of the MarketLink program, and a lot of you are probably already aware of a lot of this, but let's look at some of the wonderful benefits that accepting SNAP can do for our communities. Starting with the obvious in purple for businesses, when a farm or market accepts SNAP, they're able to increase their sales potential by expanding their customer base. There's red. And of course, beyond profitability, they are providing food access to our community's most vulnerable population. There's orange. Now, when SNAP customers are able to spend their benefits locally, they're supporting our local economies. And also, farms and markets are demonstrating that everyone is welcome to shop with them and that they are invested in their community's well-being. There's yellow. Customers who shop at farmers markets buy more fruits and vegetables and are therefore more likely to lead healthier lives. There's dark green. And this all provides unique marketing opportunities to help promote your farm or market. There's spring green. And here's a few more reasons why you might consider accepting SNAP. SNAP is a $100 billion program, and of that, currently less than 0.12% is being spent with farmers and farmers markets. And as a sad result of the pandemic, there was a 20% increase in SNAP participants from 2019 to 2020. SNAP is also an excellent companion program to WIC and seniors programs, because not only does SNAP reach different customers, but the SNAP program also allows a greater variety of food, which I'll go into in the next slide. So what this graph is showing you is just how much more funding is in the SNAP program than in those WIC and seniors programs. Okay, a few fun facts on the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, aka SNAP, or formerly known as food stamps. So who is eligible to receive SNAP benefits? People qualify based on income and household factors. In 2020, there were 44 million Americans receiving SNAP benefits, and many of them are low-income working families and the elderly. What foods can be purchased with SNAP? As I mentioned, WIC and seniors customers are usually limited to fruits, vegetables, cut herbs, and honey. Whereas with SNAP, customers can also buy meat, fish, dairy, eggs, baked goods, processed foods, honey, cider, juices, herbs, and even plants and seeds that will produce food. So what's not allowed is a pretty short list, but wine and alcohol, non-food products, hot foods, and foods meant to be eaten on site. Okay, so if a farmer or farmer's market is interested in participating in our grant program, this is kind of the crash course of steps, and I'll go into each of these in details, but step one, anyone interested would go to our website and submit our eligibility assessment. And then step two, if you have not done so already, everyone that wants to accept SNAP must first be approved as a SNAP retailer by the USDA. So you'll need to do that application. Step three, if you're eligible to our grant and you've been authorized by the USDA as a SNAP retailer, then you're ready to set up your SNAP merchant account with TotalPayGo. And then the last step is having your SNAP card reader shipped to you. And you follow some instructions to activate the app on your smart device, then you'll be ready to accept SNAP. Okay, so that first step is filling out our eligibility assessment. And this just determines if you're eligible for the grant-funded SNAP card reader equipment. So as I mentioned, you must be either a direct marketing farmer, which the USDA defines as an individual producer of agricultural goods that they sell directly to the public, or a farmer's market, which the USDA defines as a multi-stall market at which farmer producers sell food products they produce directly to the general public at a fixed location. So who's not eligible? Businesses that aren't direct marketing farmers or farmers markets, if you've already received equipment since October 2019, or if you have equipment that you received through a state-sponsored program. So no double dipping. So even if you're not eligible for the SNAP card reader equipment, we can still help in other ways. So line by line here, regardless of if you're grant eligible, we can still help you with that USDA SNAP retailer application. If you are grant eligible, then you can receive a free SNAP card reader and a 1-year subscription to the TotalPayGo app. If you're not eligible, you will need to purchase equipment. And then as we discussed, there's the printer waiver if you receive equipment through us, but if you're not eligible, you will need to purchase a printer. Now, if you get equipment through us, then we'll help you set it up and train you to use it. If you're not grant eligible, then we can still advise you on what your equipment options are. And finally, we're here to help you with any questions you might have about SNAP. And on that note, one of the most valuable free services that MarketLink offers is technical assistance. We have a nationwide team that's available to help through that whole process. So a great starting point is just to book a phone call with one of us. That can be done on our website. We're happy to talk all things SNAP. We definitely don't have all the answers, but we can help guide you and connect you to helpful resources. Okay, so here's the biggie. The second step, if a business has not done so already, is to do this SNAP retailer application with the USDA. And a free service that our grant program offers is assistance with this application. We can walk you through it, or we can even submit it on your behalf. We highly recommend you let us submit it for you because we know the potholes to dodge along the way, and that will also give us permission to speak to the USDA on your behalf to help get you approved as quickly as possible. But if you prefer to submit on your own, we also have step-by-step guides that we can share with you. So this is an overview of the process. First of all, this is an online application. So if you have us apply for you, all you'll need to do is gather your business information and schedule a phone appointment. We'll fill out the application for you. But if you do it on your own, you first have to create an account on the USDA website. Then you can actually view and fill out the application. So for the application, you'll need to identify who's going to be the responsible official of your SNAP program. So for farmers, this must be the owner or owners of the farm. And for farmers markets, it's going to depend on how or if it's legally organized. So this person will be responsible for ensuring that their SNAP program follows the federally mandated rules. And also important, this responsible official is the only person that has the authority to speak to the USDA regarding the SNAP permit. So it's important it's someone more permanent in the organization if possible. So after you fill out the online application, the USDA then has some documents that they require you to upload to complete your application. And what they require depends on how your business is legally organized. But in general, each responsible official is required to upload a copy of their photo ID and a copy of their social security card. The only exemption to that social security card requirement is for 501c3 nonprofits, nonprofit farmers markets, or government-owned farmers markets. There's also a signature page for each responsible official to sign. And if your state requires you to have any business licenses to operate, you should upload those. Finally, if you're a 501c3 nonprofit farmers market, they'll ask for your IRS determination letter. So once all those documents are uploaded, the USDA actually starts reviewing the application. Sometimes they ask for additional information, so it's imperative that you keep a close eye on your email and your mailbox, because if you miss that letter, they'll have a deadline to respond, and if you don't get back to them, they withdraw your application and make you start over. It's also super important to keep checking the status of your application. You can do that online, and you can also call them periodically to check in. So if you have us submit the application, we'll track the application for you. And then finally, once you're approved, you'll get a copy of your SNAP permit by email and snail mail, and your business will be assigned a F&S number, Food and Nutrition Services, and that will be printed on your SNAP permit, and that is your golden ticket to being able to get a SNAP point of sale equipment. So that was a lot of information, but a few key takeaways from that, important points for participating both in our program and the USDA application is that you need to have an active email account that you check regularly, because this is the primary way the USDA is going to communicate with you. You also need a bank account for these electronic transactions. The SNAP deposits will go directly into your bank account. Also, for the USDA application, you should collect all of your business and personal information before starting the process, and start early, because the whole process can take anywhere from 1 to 3 months to get approved, depending on the time of year. Okay, so once you have a SNAP permit, you will be ready for a SNAP card reader. So there are companies that you can purchase equipment from. Some banks and credit unions have SNAP card reader equipment, or if you're eligible, there's of course the option of the equipment that the MarketLink grant provides. We call this a bring your own device program, which means that customers will need to provide their own smartphone or tablet to run that Total Pay Go app on. And this can be someone's personal or business device. It just needs to have Bluetooth because that's how you'll connect your phone or tablet to the Snap card reader, which is that little square guy you see down there on the bottom. To run the Total Pay Go app, you will need to have either a data plan or connection to Wi-Fi. And if you do add a data plan, any phone carrier will work. So this is the big questions. What is covered by the grant? So on the top is showing you what is covered for 1 year, and then the bottom is what costs to expect after that first year. So the grant covers the cost of the Snap card reader entirely. That's yours to keep. And it covers 1 year of the Total Pay Go app subscription. There's no per transaction fees for processing Snap with Total Pay Go. And you have that printer waiver, so no cost for printing receipts. So if you decide to add credit and debit processing, Square's fees will apply, and I'll show those in the next slide. But after that first year, if you want to continue using Total Pay Go, the cost is in the subscription to the app. And you can either do a yearly subscription for $191.40 for the year, or if you have a seasonal operation, you can do a monthly subscription, which is $19.95 a month. But you'll continue to have those other free perks, no per transaction fees for Snap sales, the card reader, and the printer waiver. So this again is showing you those numbers that I just told you on the top here, as far as the costs of processing Snap with Total Pay Go after the first year. But the bottom box goes into the costs if you add credit and debit processing. So Total Pay is partnered with both Square and WorldPay to offer this. Square charges 10 cents plus 2.6% of the sale, and there's no contract required. WorldPay charges 15 cents plus 1.79% of the sale, and they do require a multi-year contract. Another important difference is that if you go with Square, then you will need to have a Square card reader for credit and debit cards. So the Snap card reader that's provided by the grant only processes Snap cards, but both the Snap card reader and Square's card reader can connect to the app at the same time. So you'll have one app open, Total Pay Go, but have two card readers depending on what kind of card you're processing. If you choose WorldPay, then you can use the same card reader for all card types. So most folks already are set up with a Square account, so that's certainly the more popular option. All right, so this is just showing you what the app looks like on your smart device. On the far left, you have the sign-in screen. And then next is the home screen, where you would select what kind of sale you want to conduct. And what tender types show up on your app will depend on what you're set up with. So if you add credit and debit, there will be the credit button, but most folks are just going to have Snap available here. And then the next two screens are showing you some of the settings and how you can have both the Snap card reader, which is called a chipper Bluetooth, and a Square card reader connected at the same time. Okay, so in addition to the Total Pay Go app, there's the online portal where you can log into your Total Pay Go account, and this is where you adjust settings and you can view and download all your sales data. So this is just some of the handy displays. You can look at your sales at by payment method or on an hourly, weekly, monthly basis. And if you want to learn more about Total Pay Go, here's their website and social media handles. Their products are also available for purchase if you don't qualify for the grant. Okay, we also have a lot of other development in the works. We're working on adding all tender types to the app, including EWIC and EFMNP, as well as loyalty and incentive apps so that you can reward shoppers for coming back to you. And very exciting, we were recently awarded the USDA grant to start developing the ability for farmers and farmers markets to accept SNAP online. So you might be aware this has not been possible for small retailers to accept SNAP online because the USDA has some very strict and therefore expensive security standards. The USDA recognized this problem. They were getting a lot of feedback since so many people shifted to shopping online during the pandemic. So they created a grant opportunity to develop a solution for this, which we won. So if you're interested, please get in touch with us. We're working on creating this solution at the moment. So we have a survey that you can complete to sign up for online updates to this, and I'll drop that link in the chat. All right, of course, you can find us on social media and keep up with what's going on. And this is our contact information. So a great starting point, as I said, is book a phone call with one of us, or you can send an email directly to our team email address, info@marketlink.org. Here's our team here. I'm the regional representative for the Mountain Plains, Midwest, and Mid-Atlantic, but you're welcome to book a phone call with any of our team. I'd also encourage you to check out our website, marketlink.org. There's lots of helpful resources on there. And that wraps that up. So thanks everyone for your time, and especially to Devin for hosting me today. I'm happy to take some questions now if anyone has any.
Those are really good. Very informative. I have a handful of questions, and if anybody else has any questions, please just jump right in or throw them in the chat if you don't want to come off of mute and video, but we always appreciate when you do come off of mute and video. It makes it feel like it's an actual meeting. Anyway, I've got a good amount of experience with just bad customer service in servicing SNAP and WIC, notably in groceries and at farmers markets. Number one, do you have any suggestions on where folks can go to get training information on properly, handling this unusual type of transaction when some snafus come up? In the grocery store, sometimes it would be we hadn't registered a certain product in our point of sale system, and it would cause a major kerfuffle at the checkout line. Or any resources that you'd suggest?
Yeah, absolutely. And I can drop them into the chat as well. But the Farmers Market Coalition has some great resources on. They just developed an anti-racist toolkit to kind of help farmers markets, navigate how to properly set up and make SNAP customers feel welcome, as well as the Farmers Market Legal Toolkit is a great wealth of information about how to implement a SNAP program and market it amongst your community. And finally, I think a huge value is to partner with local organizations in your community, such as food pantries, so that you can understand who these customers are, how to communicate with them, and share that info. If it's a farmer's market, share that information with your vendors, so they know who is trying to shop with them and maybe what the barriers are.
Great suggestion. So as far as vending at a farmer's market, you had your list of permissible products there, and I'm sure there's some gray areas, food that's meant to be consumed on site or not meant to be consumed on site, just one among many, I'm sure. How well is that policed? You can ring up anything as anything technically in a point of sale. I'm just wondering about the nuances when you're actually at the farmer's market. How does that play out? Do you have much?
Yeah, well, we don't know the details, but it's certainly of interest to us. And as we understand it, there are secret shoppers that work for the FNS that go to different businesses and just make sure that rules are being followed. But when you are approved to accept SNAP, the USDA gives you some training guidelines for the farmers market. And if you've documented that as the market manager or responsible official that you have, trained the vendors and met the training requirements, then for the most part, the FNS understands that the risk of fraud at a farmer's market is very low. And if something happens like that, it's usually a mistake. So they're much more likely to issue warnings before they're going to penalize anybody for slip ups.
Okay, that was my next question was, are there any, you mentioned potholes in the application process. So are there any potholes in the execution of this software that can get a farmer in trouble that you should look out for? You know, what could get you a warning?
Sure, that's a good question. You know, when you hear about cases of fraud, it's usually it's a much bigger problem that's going on where a whole business is set up around trafficking SNAP benefits. So for the average farmer, maybe accepting SNAP for something they shouldn't, or perhaps they have a CSA program and they, you know, charge the SNAP participant for the full share when you can only charge somebody for products delivered within 2 weeks. This is the way the rule works. Those are small slip ups that they're not really looking for in the first place, since those aren't the major offenders. But they're certainly going to issue a warning before they penalize your permit.
Gotcha. Do many vendors, how many vendors, farmers markets or farmers themselves, how many come to you without having a card processor? And how many switch because it's more convenient to use one that aligns with MarketLink services? Like, would it make sense if I have a third-party processor, if it worked for me to drop that processor and then switch, you know, knowing that MarketLink offers all these services?
Well, you know, it's kind of one of those things with technology where people get comfortable with a certain setup, and if it's working well for your market, then you know, I'd certainly say you should weigh the benefits, because if you find something that works, it's probably worth sticking with it. The point of this grant program was really to get more farmers and markets participating in accepting SNAP. So most of the people that I talk to, they're just getting into accepting SNAP. So this is the first kind of equipment that they're going to have. So they're usually very happy that this is a wireless app-based technology, much more modern than maybe what they're familiar with seeing, the big old wired machines.
Yeah.
But we've definitely talked to a fair number of people that have that old school equipment and it's not working anymore, and they're looking to update, and they might have come across Total Pay Go and were going to purchase it and then found out about the MarketLink grant funding opportunity.
Speaking of updates, I remember hearing something about one form of supplemental assistance being digitized while some others still weren't yet digitized, and that being a point of friction. Does that ring a bell?
Yeah, maybe you're referring to how the WIC and the seniors programs, farmers market nutrition programs, those have been a paper check system up until very recently. They've been mandated to update to an electronic system. So that's being managed. Those programs are managed at a state level. They're funded federally, but they're managed at a state level. So each state is figuring out how to solve this in their own way. And so their timeline for digitizing, if you will, it varies by state. But yes, you can expect in the next couple of years, everybody's going to be shifting to EWIC or EFMNP as it's known.
Okay. Speaking of federal level, is MarketLink greatly impacted by the Farm Bill, and you know what the outcome of that is? Is the NAFMNP? It's a program under, is it USDA, right?
The NAFMNP it's an independent nonprofit, so okay. They're not necessarily affected by the Farm Bill directly, but certainly follow what's going on with the Farm Bill, so that they know how to help their members navigate the reality of the Farm Bill. How MarketLink would be affected is funding opportunities. So the grant that we won, it was put out as a competitive grant opportunity. Any nonprofit could apply for it if they could meet the standards that the USDA put forth. So you know, if that if the Farm Bill changes how much funding is available, this, grant opportunity may or may not be available in the future.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's the list I had written up.
Okay. I was just going to say on the Farm Bill note, the SNAP program, it's the rules are derived from the Farm Bill. So we certainly talk to a lot of folks that are, frustrated about this or that, about the SNAP program. And we, fully understand their frustrations on the ground, because the reality is to change it is literally an act of Congress. And I hate telling people to, contact their congressman, because that's we know how that goes, but it really is important. That's the way to make changes.
Yeah, we're working on that internally just to try and facilitate the ease of which you can contact your representatives. It's gray area for a lot of folks, and the easier we can make it to actually lobby and advocate for positive food systems change, the better off we'll all be. I don't want to put you on the spot, but can you tell me what your favorite part of your role is with MarketLink?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I would absolutely say it's getting to talk to farmers and farmers markets across the country. And just, it's a really exciting time for farming. A lot of change going on, a lot of young folks getting involved and coming up with really unique business models. Unfortunately, a lot of times they don't fit into the rules of our grant program. For example, mobile markets have become incredibly popular as a response to the pandemic and trying to get fresh food into food deserts. And unfortunately, yeah, the SNAP program is not as flexible as it could be to adapt to these innovative programs. But I also, part of my job is getting to, dig and research and find other resources for these people, because they're doing some really important work in the food industry.
Definitely really important. We appreciate that. If a farmer were to get a van though and do a mobile market, the farmer could then accept, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Generally a SNAP permit for a retail store is tied to their physical location, but direct marketing farmers have the benefit of being able to accept SNAP anywhere they sell. So once your business is SNAP certified, you can go to the farmer's market, roadside stands, you've got that freedom of movement.
And Wendy, I know from a little bit of experience, a lot of folks might not want to, maybe they feel a certain way about using their SNAP card in public, and maybe they would want to pre-order and just pick up. So maybe it would allow folks to be more comfortable in shopping at a farmer's market if they have any kind of feelings towards having to, use these programs. So the more options, the better, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Well, does anyone else have any questions before we close this one up?
Hello. Hi.
What's happening?
Hi, I'm Megan. I have a couple questions. One is like specific to our farm, and one is just like something really quick that you mentioned. But so I think you and I have emailed back and forth a little bit, Whitney. I work at Enlightened Farm, which is a nonprofit. And my question is, I think I already did the like pre-approval through MarketLink, but I still haven't finished the SNAP application because I was going to ask if you said that 501c3 farmers markets are exempt from these documents, but I didn't know if like the actual farm, if we're not a farmer's market, but we're a farm, are we exempt? And because we operate under like a family foundation, like that is like an overarching organization for the farm. There's like a board, and then there's this woman's grandparent is also like a part of it. So like it's not easy to access people's like social security and all that stuff, because it's just all this, it's all part of like a family like foundation. And so that's been like our major block to getting like the SNAP approvals, because it's not like a straight path to that. So I just want to know if there's any sort of like, not like loopholes, but if there's like a more direct way to do that, to like apply as a nonprofit without having to invade people's personal
Yeah, no, that's really frustrating, and we get a lot of people get stuck on the social security number requirement. And in your case, it is only nonprofit farmers markets that they exempt from the social security number requirement. But they do allow, as far as that responsible official goes, for a nonprofit, it has to be somebody with authority to sign legal documents. This can be, not just the director, but a board member or corporate officer. So if there's someone maybe that's not in the family, but that is affiliated with the nonprofit, they could act as the responsible official if they're willing to share their social security number. If anything, the USDA would just come back and ask for a letter signed by someone at the nonprofit that says this person has the authority to act as our responsible official. So I don't know if that's helpful in your situation.
I think so. Like, I guess I just don't know. So do I have to get that information from every person that's on the board? Like, I have to get all of that identification and information from everybody, or just like one responsible official?
Just one is all they require. You
Okay.
can add more responsible officials, and sometimes that works out well for nonprofits, just to have more people able to, access the SNAP permit. But
Okay.
mostly people just do one, and someone that's going to be around for a while. Okay.
I think I was confused on the application because I thought it said like every single board member, you need this, 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 and this. So that is very helpful. Thank you. So I could just have it be one person. Okay. And then once I get that information, I can ask you all for assistance for the application. Like, I can send that information to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll look you up again, and then we usually send a list of what information to put together for the SNAP application, depending on what type of business you have and what legal ownership you are. So I'll send you the list for nonprofit farms, and then a link to book a phone call with me. And then, yeah, when you're ready, we'll jump on the phone and get her done.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. That's helpful. And then my one other question was just about the readers. Like, if you have a SNAP reader and the Square reader, are they both using, like you said, they can be hooked up at the same time, but are they both using Bluetooth, or like how can you have them both going at the same time?
Yeah. So I didn't realize this either, technologically, but yes, you can connect both of those readers to the app with Bluetooth at the same time. And it's not like how we're normally used to Bluetooth, connecting it into your phone. I guess that's called your native Bluetooth on your phone. The way these card readers connect, it's using Bluetooth, and it connects directly to the app. So I think it's just a feature of the app that you can connect multiple readers.
Okay, that's cool. All right. Well, that's great. Those were all my questions. Thank you for clarifying those things for me.
Oh, absolutely. And what's your farm, Megan? That way I can circle back with you.
It's called Enlightened Farm.
Okay. Awesome. All right. I'll be in touch.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks.
That's a good question.
Hi there. My name is Joan Healy, and I'm with Rutgers Cooperative Extension and the SNAP Ed program. So we provide nutrition education to people on SNAP, and I am not directly involved, with the farmers markets, but I have worked with farmers in trying to get them, to take EBT. And I'm trying to, again, there was so much information in this presentation, and probably too much for how sort of removed I am from the process. But from a very simplistic point of view, I was going to be going back into one of our local farmers markets to see, if they've started taking EBT. We were promoting that. And I know that we have had the state EBT equipment program. And what I'm just trying to get a simple comparison between that equipment, which from what I understand is quite unwieldy. They get it free or got it free for the first year. And then it always seemed like things were falling apart. I see this annual fee that is attached to this one. And I'm just trying to get a sort of an overview of, like, if I was going to be going back in there and they weren't accepting EBT yet, why would I go with you versus the old system?
Yeah, as far as how to compare different equipment options.
Yeah.
So it sounds like the biggest difference in this case is as far as the wireless versus wired situation. When you say unwieldy, that's kind of what I'm imagining here. And a lot of the state equipment is wired equipment. So that tends to not, be too convenient for a farmer's market in the first place. And so that's where Total Pay Go kind of stands apart from a lot of the equipment options out there, that it is an app-based technology that's wireless. So most farmers markets will have like a tablet dedicated to the market, and that's what they put the Total Pay Go app on. And then you can train folks how to use that. And it's certainly received better by younger farmers market staff or volunteers, can pick up on that technology a little bit faster. But otherwise, the major points of comparing, the different equipment options out there are also just going to be in the costs. So of course, our grant covers the cost for 1 year, but after that year, there's, the cost to continue using Total Pay Go, and to compare that with whatever the state program offers. Every state has different equipment and different costs associated. So you would certainly want to compare that.
Okay, thank you for that. Because that ongoing, annual charge, that's, and thank you for clarifying the wired, not wired, and all of that. So it's those recurring fees that, I just have to look at more closely. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And I imagine for organizations that are faced with, resource challenges, if the recurring fees or the subscription is a pain point, maybe it could be leveraged for an opportunity to fundraise, and also to increase, recognition for what that farmer's market or that nonprofit's doing in the community. You can have a little mini fundraiser, and then you raise awareness along with funds about what the farmer's market's doing to increase food security. It's an opportunity for a lot of folks.
Yeah, you're right. That cost is, it's not to be minimized, and that's where partnerships in a community can really come into play to help offset. A lot of farmers markets will ask their folks that come to the market to help support this and offset the fees, or sometimes they'll ask the vendors to pitch in too, to help with the costs, because it's certainly more cost effective if the market gets the card reader and pays for that, as opposed to each individual vendor. That's, it's a lot harder on the farmers than it is on the market usually.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions, anyone? Well, in the absence of any further questions, I just want to really thank you for putting this on for us, for joining us, for offering this service to our community. Like I mentioned, this has been recorded. We'll put this on YouTube, and I'll share a link to the YouTube, as well as any other useful information in an email to the registrants of this event. It'll probably happen tomorrow, so I can get back to my life. But otherwise, thank you so much, Whitney. Anybody who needs any more information, I'm sure you're all ears and all the information's there. So please do reach out. let's get all our community on board with access to fresh, nutritious food and community building at farmers markets and farms. Any last words?
Just thank you for helping us get the word out about this grant program. And as I mentioned, it'll be funded through October 2023. So if it feels too late to do this year, you know, that gives you plenty of time to think about it and get it done next year. So please reach out. I'm happy to just talk SNAP.
Awesome. And I almost forgot to mention, MarketLink was one of our winter conference sponsors, and we really appreciate that. So that being said, I'm going to close it up. I'll stop the recording.